Anybody else need to sign in? All good? Cool.
All right, we are live. Okay, welcome everybody. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 6 p.m. First is public comment. Anybody have anything to add or say? Okay, hearing none. Let's get right into the 2023 revised budget timeline. Okay, which is this right here.
Thank you, Chairman Lennon. Since I presented the timeline like 2 or 3 months ago, unfortunately, I didn't take and consider there is an election day going on, right around the time I'm targeting us, putting the draft in order. I didn't anticipate, of course, our council chambers has perhaps a filming going on with Chicago Fire, is it?
Yes. Correct, yes.
So I really appreciate you guys bearing with me through the changes in there. The important thing to note, though, is that after this meeting, we still are within our statute to present the options for tax levy to the COW and for council to make a determination afterward. I think I stated here on the 22nd, so November 10th, that's when we're presenting the draft and the tax levy options. On the 22nd, we'll make our presentation with this draft and more explanation. But council has to make a determination on which tax levy option needs to be put into an ordinance. And that has to be done within 20 days of the vote. So by doing it on the 22nd, the following city council meeting is the 13th of December, so that it still is within that 20-day threshold.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one change to the timeline, those dates there. The other dates to consider, though, afterward, we compile all of our year-end revenue and expense transactional data in the month of January. But previously, I think I had February 2nd or 3rd as the day to present the overall city the general fund and a couple of extra other funds to the committee. That date is going to be February 16th because the dates of council, I believe it's the 14th and the 28th.
Okay.
For that. So February 28th is going to be the day that the draft of the entire citywide budget is being presented to city council for consideration. And there is a public notice requirement that when the draft is being submitted, the time from that point to when a public hearing, it's a 10-day window. We must make sure that the publication occurs within 10 days of the March 14th public hearing, and then subsequently for the 2023 budget vote. So
Okay.
just take note of those dates. Just let me know if there's any questions pertaining to that revised timeline.
Okay.
Okay? So that's our timeline.
All right, so let's go to general fund budget draft.
Yep. In front of everybody is a packet of a summary page as well as the detailed projections. And it's real important that, unfortunately, we do our best to project based on the transactional data that we have, some insight from department heads and things like that. We took our best stab at projecting not only the remaining 2022, but presenting a draft of the budget for '23, and then 3 subsequent years, '24 through '26. Some important assumptions as you're looking through the numbers here is that for now, we are stating that the general fund property taxes remain the same. What we wanted to do is present the impact of the budget, making that the same. The other thing that that's happened though, to put us in that position, so far, 7 months, state taxes are still strong. They're still favorable. They have not ceased the momentum that has occurred since last year. We're very cautious about that. In short, it appears to us that inflation is driving that. It's difficult to determine. There's also an online purchases component, but it's still difficult on our end to determine whether that's sustainable in the near term. It's sustainable enough to consider keeping the general fund property tax levy constant, but in the future years, that's where we have to consider any adjustment and change in the rates.
And keeping an eye on it.
Correct. So there is one fund that, the Berwyn securitization. Do we have that one? We had printed out some Berwyn securitization numbers that gives you an indication of, I printed it out. I'll tell you what, let's get through the presentation.
Okay.
And what it revolves around is that the Securitization Corporation has, those are where you're gonna see the sales, the state sales, the use tax, the state income tax. Those we're still seeing as strong, and that's where the data 7 months into the year is still post-sale resorts. Now, where you see that into the general fund is on page 1, the next page. That transfer from other funds, that comes from the Berwyn Securitization Corporation. That's the entity that takes in the state taxes, and then once it sets aside the required debt service payment, then it forwards the residual amounts to the general account.
Gotcha.
And what we're seeing is that those state taxes look very favorably compared to last year, as well as the budget. But after I'll take a walk down, because I printed those out. I just need to bring it back upstairs.
So that's line item 4,900?
Yes,
Yep.
yes, that's where that comes from. The other things too.
Transfer from other funds, if you guys are looking for that one?
Yeah.
Yes.
4,900?
Yes. So, with that being said, while we foresee an immediate jump in the revenues in 2023 because of that jump in state taxes, it's difficult for us to just stand there and say, well, that's gonna continue. I believe it's prudent on our part to make the assumption that that's gonna level off. Maybe sales taxes will keep constant, given our businesses here, but state income taxes with the economy. So in the summary page, that's where you notice that the revenue's leveling off. Now, from an expenditure standpoint, we took our best stab at projecting our expenditures. We have expenditures posted through through October. So we did our best to project the expenditures we know, but there's still expenditures out there that we have to capture at year end with our claims, our other revenue, expenses that are driven by increases in revenue. So in that case, it's difficult, but we took our best stab at projecting the expenditures for 2022. And we are at this point projecting a modest net change positive of $500,000. We foresee, you know, based on the limited data that we have, that 2023, we do foresee a balanced budget, but we just have to be mindful with revenues leveling off and us doing our best to control expenditures, you know, between the 2 and 3 range, that we could run into deficits with flatlined revenues. So for purposes that just want to be mindful
Sure.
of that. So but that's more or less an overall commentary. All this has come as a result primarily of our meetings with the biggest departments. We also took time out to talk to our smaller department heads to go ahead and put forth these projections based on the input of our department heads, as well as the transactional data that we have. We will do our best. I know we have a column for projection basis.
Mhm.
Normally, we go line by line. I'll have more of that available
Okay.
in preparation for our count meeting, but primarily, overall, that comes as a result of our recent trends and statistics, and whatever new information that we have, then, that we try to do our best to incorporate that in our projection.
Okay.
So, as a result though, with our projections, having that strong fund balance percentage is, we're still at a healthy 23%. If we have down years in 24 through 26, that will come down further, and we will have even at 2025, we're still above that 16% policy threshold.
Sure.
So,
And those years, we might have to adjust accordingly by, increasing some things,
Yes.
maybe fees or whatever. Could be
Sure.
violations.
So with that being said, let me run down and get just give me
Okay.
a minute, I'll run down. Oh, did you find it? Oh, wonderful. Oh, this is our one copy.
No.
Is it
No,
two?
no,
Do
it
you
might
want
not
more?
be the one copy, but,
So this
Go
is,
ahead.
okay,
Just take it.
that's what I need, I'll be right back.
no, I got,
Oh, you got more copies?
yeah.
Oh, that's
Oh,
what we
okay.
need.
Yeah, no.
Wonderful.
I just want to make sure that you.
That's what
That's
I
the
need.
right, that's the,
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
you just wanted to make sure that was the
Yes,
right
I
one.
thought I forgot it. Okay, very good. We got it. Very good. All right, we're good. You're preventing me from getting my steps.
Look.
Yes, very good.
I know.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
thank you. Yes,
You
I got one.
Yes.
yes, yes.
Right.
No, I don't have it. No, you have
I
two,
might not have
Joe.
one, but
Oh, you-
I'm okay.
Okay.
I don't need
This is
one.
my
I know I gave
So
her
I will
that.
look at all the
I do not need
Malaysias.
one.
Oh,
Maybe
okay.
I will talk about it.
Oh, yeah, the next one?
Later.
Very good.
All right, we're in business now.
We
Yes,
will-
very cool.
we
Very
will
good.
talk about that later.
So this is what pertains to that 4,900 line item. All and as you can see, the projected amount is coming in very strong versus the budget. You can see 2021's audit amount for that is like $22.4 million. So with that being said, we're still, conservatively, we'd like to just keep at that level at 8.15 million. Have somewhat growth in the sales tax areas, but nothing 2%.
Kind of one of the it's a benefit in a way. We don't have a lot of huge national retailers here because we don't have a lot of land. So we're a city of homes, so it's a little different here than you would see in larger communities that have, Targets and big stores that are creating a lot of sales tax. So that's why ours is a little more conservative, and we don't get as many as other towns, so.
Yep. No, that's how that leads until what is transferred to the general fund. And like I said, for now it's strong, but we've got to monitor this very, very closely. So thanks for getting that over, appreciate that. This is gonna lead to a decision as to what the appropriate tax levy is. For now, the objective in presenting these options is to give you the base versus the highest level that can be done. First, on the first page, actually the second page, we have the scenario where our bond covenant that we issued for a prior pension bond requires the city to levy $500,000 to the bond and interest fund. And we are committed to that from the bondholders.
Mhm.
So that equates to, an average, and I lay out the calculation as far as an estimated median home value of $192,000. What that translates to is a $25 difference to the taxpayers based on the Berwyn levy,
City.
and a 1.44%. Now, that's honoring the debt service covenant of $500,000. So that's option A. Option B was the consideration of levying for the library. And the library, as you all are aware of, provided an analysis and a study that indicated that the fund balance, if it's going on the current trajectory, there could be a deficit. I mean, these are our initial projections that he's having, that, and it's important to consider that a levy increase has not been assigned to the library since 2016. So what is being proposed is that the city levy so that deficit is presented in future years, starting, say, in 2025. Now, to do so, if we were to just levy for the library, then that would require a change in levy from roughly, it's about $1.1 million that would be assigned to the library out of our overall levy. So you would have two components. There's $500,000 for the debt service covenant, and then you'd have $1.1 million directed toward the library. Now, as you can see in the middle, that percentage is 4.84%. The minimum, the required minimum to avoid a public vote is 4.99%. So we would be within that threshold.
Okay.
But it just, and of course, based on that estimated market value of 192,000, that would equate to about a little over an $82 increase to our taxpayers
Okay.
as a result of that. So those are the two options to consider. I'll leave the floor open to any comment and questions on that.
So basically, we have not been funding the library the way we should have been for the last several years, and it's catching up.
Since 2016.
So at that point, we need to catch up.
That's what
And so is this something that's obviously gonna be every year?
it's possible that it would be this amount every year if, keeping within that threshold.
Mhm.
But the thing to consider, weighing is where's the general fund gonna be 2 years from now, and where everything's gonna come at, so.
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
So these are the two options, but no, these aren't set yet, so.
Right, so the committee should review and just let us know, should we go, when we're making the presentation, should we go present these two options? Is there another further option beside that we should put in the presentation for the cow?
Say A, B, and C?
Yeah.
Is it possible to issue bonds again, or is that not?
I mean, I think we have to be mindful of our city,
Yeah.
deal with our pension bond situation and
That we
things like
just
that.
issued bonds already.
Yeah, and, our liabilities, it's great, so I mean, those are,
I wouldn't think that that's where you would wanna go.
yeah.
Okay.
And then just for like the general public, just so to get a little clearer picture, the reason the tax bill says $1,700, obviously here in Berwyn, our taxes are more than $1,700, because this is only considering 30% of your total property tax bill is only 30%.
Sure.
Somewhere around 30%, yes.
So that's why, obviously everybody here knows that our tax bills, are maybe $5,000, $7,000. But what we're just talking about is just the city of Berwyn. The
Yeah.
city of Berwyn, your total tax bill, if you multiply that by 30%, this is exactly what we're talking about. The $1,700 is just specifically that component of the city property taxes.
Exactly. That's always, a difficult conversation. I mean, people look at the bottom dollar.
Yeah.
So we raise ours, schools raise theirs and so on, but, this is what this is what we control and this is what we, most people look at us the most because of police, fire, and just the services they provide, they see and they want. So the other ones they might not see.
Yep.
Okay. So if, in our next meeting, Cal, if we at that point decide we wanted to change anything and have a third option at that point, can we do it then and still have time to do that, or not?
That's possible.
Okay.
We
Not that we do want
Yeah.
that, but just, definitely we have to fund the library
Yeah.
if we have not. And how do we, so on our taxes, there's a line item for library.
Three, yes, I believe.
Yeah, so there's, 16 taxing bodies, it's city of Berwyn, then it's library.
And then, you have our police pension, you have our bond and interest.
Yes,
Yep.
but so there's line items that give us some of money, an amount of money to the library fund or the library itself. They don't get all that money, correct?
The library
Yeah.
out of our.
Out of their tax bill, like of the taxes that are put on the
They
tax bill.
will get what we specifically levy
Okay.
for.
Okay.
The city is levying for a handful of different, we have our bond and interest, we have our police, our normal costs for our police and our fire department, and then we also levy for the library.
Sure,
Yep.
so the library does not have staff there that do certain things, so what happens is the city will charge them for services that maybe they don't have. If it's.
IT.
Exactly, so that's what I'm getting at, is basically, they don't get everything from that line item on our tax bill that says library, because of the expenses sometimes of the services they're utilizing here, because they don't have, say, their own, accounting department and their own IT and stuff like that. Good. Just wanted that. Great. All right. Any other questions?
Just one more thing, just to clarify, just for the public, that how our Berwyn Public Securitization Corporation works. A lot of times people, when this was originally done, they believe that all of our sales tax, sometimes there's this notion out there that we sold off all of our sales tax. So this is the document that shows how the city, after those bond payments are made, how that money, after the bond payments are made, how the rest of those dollars come back to the city coffers. And that's what this document is all about, how I think, right, 20 million, we got, 22 or?
Yep.
22 million. That was what we received, the city received in sales tax dollars after we paid off the bonds that we issued.
Yeah, actually, it's the 18,549, that is the amount that's available
I see, yeah.
for that afterward.
And the reason why that was part of the restructuring of debt was because if we did not have a plan like that, basically the unions, or the police and fire could come and get their money.
The state,
Yes,
yeah.
the state would do it, and
It was
then
the
that
state law.
could cause disruption in the way the flow of money comes into our city.
Or the other option that was presented was that we could have taxed, a higher tax levy, and obviously, instead of doing the tax levy, we did the bond route, which was obviously now looks great because it was like a 3.2% interest rate. And that's why maybe it doesn't even make sense now to issue a bond, because what interest rates would we get now?
Right.
We'd get probably not a benefit.
Exactly.
So in terms of the library, that if we do wanna fund it, obviously it's something that's important to the
Yeah.
community.
Yeah.
These are some of the hard questions that we all have to ask ourselves, and obviously if we wanna keep funding our library, it's a must, it's not
Okay.
optional.
Got it. Any other questions? Alrighty, any new business? Basically, new business is just our next meeting,
Next meeting.
and we have the timeline and everything.
Yep.
Okay. I just need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.
Thank you. We'll let you know.
And once that was mentioned before, you know, we might lose some of that rental, the rental money, is that all incorporated too?
We have not received any definitive communication, so for now, we're assuming things